Hi, Yogi Edgies. Thank you for watching the replay, hugging your friends. My phone hates Periscope. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me again. Well, you know what? This is great. Hi, Holistic Steffi. Welcome. Because the last one, I got off onto a tangent, and so this will be perfect because all of the reading will start right at the beginning. And if you're new here, thank you for being here. My name is Lisa, and I'm a yogi blogger on boxedge.org. I share with you my yoga journey so that you can learn with me. And we are reading the Heart of Yoga book. So if you have it, you can read it with us. We're reading the Yoga Sutras right now. If you think any of your friends would enjoy this, please remember to hug your friends, and let's get started. I don't know why I'm talking like a game show host right now. It just happens sometimes. I don't know. Sometimes weird. Hi, Sean. Okay, so all right, there we go. I still don't know where to put this thing. This thing is really bothering me. I'm going to put it where I had it earlier. Yeah, it was weird because, right as you hugged your friend, Sandeep, it, completely closed out my Periscope. I don't know. I love Periscope, but yet it seems to be the least technically, enhanced, or not enhanced, advanced application there is right now. Yeah, it was weird. So, okay. You did not miss much, Jules. We were more just talking about political and stuff. Mike, your construction working consistent. And Atkins is what she is saying. And asking what she is saying. I'm saying hello. If I knew how to say hello in any other language, I would also try it, or I'm assuming for some reason that they're speaking another language, but I think that's because I think I heard you speak another language whenever you were on your scope the other day, Sandeep. Namaste, yes. Oh, yes, namaste, you're right. And hola. And why can I not remember it in French? Oh my goodness. Okay. We left off at set 2.17. Hola! Hola, ¿cómo estás? Why can't I remember? Yes, bonjour. Bonjour. Namaste. 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 Right here. Okay. 218. We're on 218. What? I feel like I, took drugs or something tonight. I'm being very weird. Konnichiwa. Hello, Likui. I can't see that from this far away. Hello. Say, Ijaz? I don't have ADHD, but it seems like I do tonight. Namaste, Ijaz. I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know how the J is, or Iha. Iha? Ihaz? Namaste, Ihaz, maybe. I don't know. Okay, I'm not gonna do the Sanskrit again because Ijaz. Okay. Because I will sound pretty silly and we will not really get the right vibe and it tends to distract me. But you are more than welcome to say it to yourself if you are reading along in the book. But we are on page 171 of the Heart of Yoga, about to start 2.18. Hug your friends if you're also wanting them to read along with us. So this one says, what distinguishes the objects of perception from that which it perceives? The following sutras explain. All that is perceived includes not only the external objects, but also the mind and the senses. They share three qualities: heaviness, activity, and clarity. They have two types of effects: to expose the perceiver to their influences, or to provide the means to find the distinction between them and itself. All that is perceived has the capacity to display the three qualities mentioned above, but they vary in intensity and degree. The nature of their effects on us is explored further in the next few sutras. That was 218. I have to recap that because I'm not quite internalizing it. All that is perceived. Heaviness, clarity, and activity. All that is perceived. So everything that we perceive has some of those qualities, I believe is what that's saying. And that's kind of cool because I feel like the heaviness and the activity and clarity and the fact that they're either going to expose the perceiver to their influences or provide the means to find the distinction between them in itself is totally what we were doing earlier when we were talking about being a sponge and a bucket of sand and a grocery cart of DVDs. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, you may want to watch the replay of my quote of the day. But is anyone else kind of getting that idea that was maybe in there earlier? Because I totally feel that, yeah. Because we talked about being too heavy, we didn't know how to let things go as we were like a sponge and needed to filter through. And the activity, what we were actually there for, and the clarity, kind of not being that thunderstorm. So that's crazy. What the heck? Don't feel as if you're obligated to explain everyone. Is that your polite way of saying shut up, Sean, and move on? But I won't. Some of them, if there's not a good thing to talk about, I won't. But that was really weird because it totally lined up with what we just had a really long discussion on in the quote of the day. It was an hour-long discussion. Probably the meat of it was only 30 minutes, but it really makes sense. So I won't even really have to tell a story on that one. You'll just be able to watch the replay. The obvious connections. Yeah. What the heck? The universe and I are becoming friends. We're really starting to learn to communicate, and it's very awesome. 219. All that is perceived is related by the common sharing of three qualities. In addition, they affect each other. For instance, what we eat influences our state of mind. Our state of mind affects our attitude to our bodies and to our environment. Yet again, also very true. Some of you may not even realize that I went from drinking a soda every day and eating fast food 3 to 4 times a week and loaded up on pasta, mashed potatoes, M&Ms, and the literally a month ago. So that's what I was eating a month ago, and now I have rarely been craving pasta, and I'm still weaning myself off of the M&Ms, and I stopped drinking soda. I started drinking kombucha, and since I have been doing that and I have added real food into my life, I'm not trying to take away anything. I'm just simply adding the good stuff and then slowly not wanting the bad stuff. It's totally affecting my mindset. I feel a lot more adaptive. Keeps getting easier. Exactly, it is. It's definitely getting that steamroll. That's why I'm going to Whole Foods tomorrow. I was at the grocery store today. Yeah, I imagine a few years from now, I'll be like LGG and I'll just be like, I used to eat shit and now I eat plants. So it takes time. 220. What is it that perceives? That which perceives is not subject to any variations, but it always perceives through the mind. Consequently, the quality of perception is affected by the state of the mind, which is the instrument of perception. Whether there is a perception or not, whether it is correct or incorrect, depends on the state of mind. In the same way, the color of an object is affected by the color of glass through which it is seen. Oh, look at that analogy thrown in there. I like that. Hello, Natalie. How's it going? That which perceives is not subject to any variations. Hello. We're reading the Heart of Yoga Sutras. Exactly. You are pretty much nothing that you have control over. You are just like, I feel like sometimes it's oversaid, but you're like the light. And your perception is the glass. Your mind that you are thinking with right now is just the glass. It's not the light. Yeah. So definitely think about that. I thought of a cast net, but, to each his own. You can advance or not. Are you telling me on the book or are you telling me in life? Whenever I read that, I was actually thinking about a cast net in your soul. Okay, so let me see where my mind was going, because for some reason that's what it threw over my thoughts whenever I was reading it. So when it was talking about the quality of the perception is affected by the state of the mind, which is the instrument of perception, I think this is where my brain was going. Sometimes I have thoughts that I don't even understand and seem to be teaching me, and I have to literally analyze them to figure out what the heck they were trying to get at. And this is what I think it was trying to tell me. If you think, tell me, give me a 1 or a hands up if you know what a cast net even is, because I would not have maybe 5 years ago whenever I met my best friend. Okay. A cast net is a very large net that has, imagine a round net, and there are weights on the edge. You throw the net out like a pancake or a saucer, and it lands on the water. Yeah, I don't know why you don't, Sandeep. This is the philosophical portion of yoga, and really the physical practice just helps you be calm so that you can get to this stuff. A lot of people that I've met that do yoga don't even try to get this part. You throw that net out, it lands on the water, the weights sink down on the sides to the bottom of the lake, ocean, whatever the heck you're fishing on. And then all of those weights are connected to a long string, and you pull the string and it does this with the net. It goes whoop. So then here's the net floating above. Okay. And so then now the weights are all pulled in and you can pull in your fish. So that's a cast net for anyone who has not used one before. I can only throw a small cast net right now because I'm still learning, but I've actually caught a few mullet, full-size mullet, I don't remember how big they were, but yeah, in a cast net. So I felt like that was a really big accomplishment. But nets, so cast nets come in different sizes as far as, no, as far as the size of the holes, like, so the net could have like a hole like this big, or it could have like a hole like this big, or so on and so forth. It could have like a big hole. And then there's also different sizes as far as like the actual diameter of the cast net. I'm thinking as far as the size of the holes, you catch different types of fish. So if you were going to go fishing and you needed some little small fish, some bait, obviously you wouldn't throw a net that had like giant holes, because clearly that's not going to catch anything. You would need one with like a little small hole to catch the small fish. But if you wanted to catch big fish, you don't need a net with little tiny holes. It's just gonna get so messy. They get all like scaled up in it, like it's a mess. So instead, you use a net with the proper size hole that will catch the fish but not let it get through. And so in this analogy, imagine that your quality of perception is affected by the size of the holes in your perception. So sometimes I feel we go through life casting bait nets out for everything, and we try to perceive life like we are looking through a bait net. But we're probably overworking ourselves when we could just switch to, say, something with a larger hole that lets the little stupid stuff out. Like, we don't need to deal with like the little like things that annoy you, you know what I mean? And instead we really can start to focus on larger ideas and really perceive life as a whole. Life and perception of the whole grand scale of things. Scale, get it? Rather than every little person as a little bait fish. We can now try to catch the world, the universe in our net. And so that's how I read it. So the state of mind, which the instrument is the instrument of perception. So we can learn to let go of a lot of the junk. Now I have a cart full of crappy DVDs and a small hole bait net. I said to Carrie, I don't notice criticisms. Yeah, and so I think that's a good thing, Jules, as long as like it's not any teachings that you're missing. But as far as like negative types of criticisms, is I think what you're meaning. Exactly, you let it go. You don't want those junk fish. You don't want that junk lesson. You don't want that junk in your life. You don't need it. It's gonna be there. Those little fish exist. It's not like they weren't in the net. You don't concern yourself daily with what does. Okay, yes. And so that's exactly how I feel. There's a spider on me! Okay. I'm sorry, spider. I'm sorry I just killed you. Oh, I do have a fear of spiders, and I don't know why he was on me. It was small. It was really tiny, but okay. Whoops. I didn't mean to kill the little being. He just did not belong in my belly. What was I saying? So, does that make sense for the net thing, the net idea? Sometimes you live in a dangerous place. Yes. Oh, good. I'm glad it makes sense. I live in the woods, so there's a lot of bugs. There's one spider that lives over there, and I keep an eye on him. I let him be for right now, but he may be a black widow. I'm not sure. I haven't looked it up. He doesn't bother me though, so. So yeah, I'm glad that makes sense, because I really like that, because maybe it's time to switch up the net. Maybe it's time to go to a larger net. And I think through meditation and practice, we start to allow those small fish to go through and allow the things that really aren't needed in life to go through. And instead, we can see the overall picture and the larger scale of, oh my gosh, he's still alive. Why? Okay, now he actually is dead. Ugh. It just scares me because he's like running like 50 miles an hour, like across my like stomach. Ugh. Okay, sorry. Alright, I think that was the end of that particular lesson. Let's maybe do one more. Let's do one more, and then I think I'll let you read if you want, Jules, or pretty much if you want, I can just keep reading and then you tell me when to stop, because I have a lot of them still. Maybe you'll get Spidey powers. Spidey powers. Okay. So 221. All that can be perceived has but one purpose: to be perceived. In this way, they serve... Oh. I don't know it. In this way, they serve the perceiver, but have no individuality of their own. Their purpose comes from their perception by a perceiver. In the same way, food on the table is there for a guest, not for its own sake. What do you think about that one? How do you feel about that one? Has but one purpose: to be perceived. The perceiver. Yeah, okay. All that can be perceived has but one purpose: to be perceived. In this way, they serve the perceiver but have no individuality of their own. Their purpose comes from their perception by a perceiver. In the same way, food on the table is there for the guest, not for its own sake. It is there for the guest. I'm guessing to eat, like to take in. Not like just to be. Like the food isn't there just to exist. Is what that part is saying. Not for decoration. Yeah, even though nowadays people tend to seem to have that to be perceived. Yeah. This one kind of hits hard for me because of certain times I have noticed. I don't know if I want to get into it. Yeah, I'll go ahead and get into it. Am I there just to be perceived? Yes. Technically, yes. Because the I that you're talking about is like just the part that's there to be perceived. Like you're going to exist no matter what. But the you that you create is really just created to be perceived, if that makes any sense at all. But the way that I really like think of this, and it's really important because it's made a huge shift in my mindset and my okayness with life, is that my best friend is there for me to be for me to perceive. He's not really there for any other reason, and he's not there because he needs to be perceived. I'm trying to think of how to word this. Like, I know some people are going to disagree with me and I don't know who's right, and that's okay. But my best friend is there because I learn from him. I take situations that we encounter. Now I'm like getting super paranoid, and I thought that I saw another spider. But I guess I did not. Dang it. Now that little spider has me freaking out. Okay, so as I was saying, what am I seeing? Like something is like shining, or I don't know what it is. I think I know what you're gonna say. I apparently am perceiving a spider on the red couch. Yes. I don't know why. I think it was like glitter or something. Yeah, so like the people in your life aren't really there for you. Or they are, but they're only there for you to perceive. It's not like to have, for example. What is that? A dragon ant? Hello from Nashville, Michael. We're reading the Yoga Sutras, and I'll go ahead and read to you the most recent one so you can give us some feedback. It says, all that can be perceived has but one purpose, to be perceived. Oh, it's like in my hair or something. All that can be perceived has but one purpose, to be perceived. And so, yes, I definitely feel that my best friend is in my life because I perceive him, like I see him. And I like how, I actually really appreciate whenever certain cultures, like the I love you is like I see you, if you know what I'm talking about. Because I totally get that. It's like, they're there to like teach us lessons, and so that we can kind of look outward to understand what's going on inward. Yes, you're right. I think that goes with the Four Agreements. Yes, yeah, that's actually totally what the Four Agreements book is about. And if you haven't read The Mastery of Love, you should also read that. It's the second one, and it's right along the lines of that. And so a lot of times I think I get overwhelmed and kind of into this pattern where I start to think that he's in my life for a reason, like that I need him in my life, and like there's like some sort of like connection or something. I don't know how to word it, how the thing I'm trying to say right now, but I think you know what I mean. Like a lot of times that I think is why people say like relationships and stuff like that. But the point is that they're there for us to perceive. They're there so that we can like take something from that perception. Like, just as the food is not there for its own sake on the table, it's there for the guest. Like, it's there to be consumed and to nourish us. Just as my best friend is here in my life so that I can learn from him as another human being that is going through other life situations. And he's not just there to be there, like, he's not just going to be there, and once I don't have anything to perceive, he probably will not be there anymore. And that's probably where I'm going to end up with some people saying, no, I don't agree. But that's definitely how I see it. And when I started perceiving in that way, life became a lot easier, a lot less stressful, and I started to understand and learn a lot more about life. I started to watch more and listen more and really just take it all in, like as if you were like eating a piece of food and really appreciating every single bite of that food. You know, it's totally mindful, like that's the whole concept. Once I started really seeing and hearing and listening to him, and not just like expecting him to just be there and you know, like just kind of taking it for granted, and even the bad and the good, really just taking it all in, I started learning so much about myself, because it's all about me perceiving him or me perceiving things. It's not at all about him. And that's really hard to explain, and I have a feeling that this might not make sense, but I really hope it does, because it really changed my life. And now when I talk to my best friend, I just listen and I watch and I observe. And many times in the silliest of conversations, or even the worst of conversations, I learn a lot about myself, because I have realized that he's only there for me to perceive, and I take advantage of that. And so in every conversation that we have, even if they're really bad, because we're quite a volatile combination, I learn so much from every single time. I think that understanding is sometimes the only way to have a long-term relationship. Yeah, possibly. Even though that definition can be a lot. So I don't know when you left. We were talking about all that can be perceived has but one purpose: to be perceived. I don't know if you heard that, Sandeep. And I was explaining that I really take this to heart and really took this really deep when I changed my mindset on my best friend, and really I started just seeing him rather than, I don't know, like taking advantage of him, like just taking him for granted being there, if that makes sense. And this should go for everyone in our life. The other, another good example, I do this with my mother too. So I haven't really talked about my mom, so I'm trying to think of a way to really put this into a small explanation, but most of the things that I am struggling in life could have been a chain reaction to the things that I learned from my mother. And I am not upset or blame her or anything, so please don't think I'm saying that. It's just that that's kind of what happens, like cause and effect. And she tried her best to be a good cause, and in effect, I became slightly crazy. And because of that, I am not very at peace in my soul and my heart, and however, she also did she did help me to look for better things. So there was good and bad. I'm going to close the book only because my battery is critically low, so I'll turn to the charger and I'll have you read next. But in this explanation, so my mom, there's a lot to say about my mother, but in this particular example, I have had issues with my mother my entire life because I never really felt like listened to, I guess might be a good word. I have lashed out much of my life because I have always felt like I was silenced, and the perfectionism kind of kicked in there. The really just starving for attention really kicked in there. A lot of the things that I've done my whole life really kicked in from me not feeling like heard. And so with that, I knew this, and I've worked past a lot of this in my life, and a lot of the attention seeking is gone. I still struggle with it. So like on social media, it's hard for me to understand exactly how I feel about it. But like the kind that's just like, I want attention just to have attention is gone. And as I get to this point, I start to notice my mom is there for me to perceive, and I never did that before. And recently, I started actually practicing this, and it's really changed a lot of things. And so what happened is, in the past, I would talk to my mother, and, hey, Swamp Wolf Forge, hello. And I would talk to my mom. If it helps, I enjoy listening to. Joe, it's probably actually what caused me to be a teacher. So you can thank my mother. I guess it all falls into place, doesn't it? So when I speak to my mom is also a teacher, actually. She is a elementary school teacher. However, she, I would say, doesn't really listen very much to anybody. She talks a lot. She talks and talks and talks. And there's not much else to it. You're cool. I gotta go. Work at 3 a.m. Yeah, thank you for watching the replay, Michael. I hope that you learned something from it, and I hope to see you again and have good work at 3 a.m. So she talks a lot, and that's where I get the talking part of me, so you can also thank her for that. However, there's usually no break. There's no conversation. It's just one way, which I am feeling like a really big hypocrite right now on Periscope, but that is also why I do invite you to comment and I try to converse with you. So you could imagine for example, I may go to my mother, and so this would be a recent one. I won the yoga challenge, and I won that giant discount to go to Costa Rica, and I was so excited, and I just had to tell somebody about it. It's something you want to share, that excitement with others. And so I went up to her and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I have to tell you about something. And I told her, and I really like to do the storytelling building up so that it really gets a lot of excitement. And that also, my friends, may also have been what made me a good storyteller, because I had to learn how to build up at least as much excitement as I could to get any bit of juicy excitement out of her, or reaction and feedback from her. And so I did it, and I know you always talk about my pauses. And I told her, and so the only reaction I got, which it was still okay, but the only reaction I got was, high five! So tonight I went line dancing, and we learned this one new line dance, and Todd, the person that I'm madly in love with, taught me this new dance, and it's called this, and I can't seem to quite get the steps to this one dance because, I don't know, it's just something in my head, and we went to Chili's afterwards, and I had these really good fries, and then I came home and I was really tired, so I think I'm going to go to sleep early. Did you catch, what happened at all? Hello, everyone. Hello, new friends. Yes, I talk about yoga, and we're talking about a yoga concept right now, actually. It's got to be about her day. Yes. So, high five, immediately somehow go into everything about her. And in the past, Ada is your friend. Thank you, Sandeep, for hugging your friend. So, Ada, welcome. My name is Lisa, and I'm a yogi blogger. And I missed your name, though. We're talking about yoga, and we go over a lot of really mental concepts to help bring us peace in these scopes. And so right now we're talking about how everything that we can perceive is there in the world to be perceived, is the topic. And so yes, I'm talking about how my mother, I had to learn how to use this concept on, and I didn't even know this sentence per se, but I've done it recently, being mindful of her. And yes, she only wants to talk about herself. Period. It's been so bad to the point where I have been crying and in desperation over my relationship and in a deep bout of depression. And I know that she means well, but I will literally tell her a story and be crying to her. Yeah, so true. That's like the truest thing ever. And immediately after me explaining my situation, her first sentence will be, "Well, that's like me and Todd. Your dad is not good at expressing emotions." Yeah, I really actually think that's totally the case. And I used to get really fed up with it. I honestly didn't used to talk to my mother for a very long time. I would go for very long amounts of times not talking to her and avoiding her because I can't, it's too much. It's like a one-way topic all the time, and I couldn't be there. I needed, somebody to talk to and converse with, not somebody to just be like a listening ear that can't even really speak back. And it's my mom's like obsession. She's recently divorced, and yes, so with what Sandeep is saying about not being able to express emotions, I've really learned that from her based on her getting a divorce. So he feels happy about my achievements, but it does not overly express it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that I know a lot of parents like that, actually. Like my best friend's parents, are exactly the same way, and they affected us in totally different ways. But so with this being said, now that you understand like how she is, I teach my mom dance, and sometimes when we're going to one of my girls' houses, we carpool. And it's really hard on me because it's an hour away and an hour back. And the whole time, I literally just have stopped talking because I understand that it's like pointless. Like it doesn't do anything. I just say words and like they go like this. And then it becomes a topic about line dance or Todd. And so for a little while, I've been really frustrated and aggravated and just getting like this really tight feeling in my chest and like, why is she doing this? Why is she just talking? Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. And that's when I started to realize that she's there for me to perceive. Once I started doing that, it's now like a little game that I play when I'm in the car with my mom or when I'm in the room with my mom and she's talking. Instead of like, be careful what you wish for, friend had too much praise. Exactly. And so, great talker. Yeah. And so, I'm not necessarily wishing for something different now. And that's what I'm getting at, is that I used to think, why does my mom not listen to me? Like, why have I always like felt this way? Like, why? I remember, like, this is a very sad part. I know it doesn't feel like it now, but you're lucky you have mom. And that's what I'm also getting at, Joe, is that I have accepted her and really started to perceive her now. I didn't ever have that. Even as a child, I remember being in 3rd grade, and I remember telling my mom that I felt that she loved her kids more than she loved her real kids. And that's like something pretty deep for, I think, me being in 3rd grade to say. And I was really serious. I still remember telling her that. And she didn't get it. It totally didn't obviously make any difference to her. She was sad. She heard it. She would say sorry a lot, but she didn't change the way that she talked and communicated with myself and my brother. And so I've always felt that way in life. And now I have been able to change. I had to change the way that I perceive her for it to work. So now when she is talking in these little like self-centered rants, I just watch her. I told her that I felt that she loved her kids, quote unquote, more than her real kids, meaning she was teaching third grade at the same time as actually I was in third grade, and all I heard about was her kids. Do you know what it feels like to be somebody's child and you hear somebody all the time say, well, my kid's this, my kid's that, my kid's this, and I would tell her, I'm your kid! So, yeah. But now I just watch, and I observe, and I perceive her. And it's been a fun little game. I've actually been playing for like a week or two now, and it's very interesting that we came to this sutra because I've been doing it, and I see a difference. And so now as we like drive in the car and she talks and talks and talks and talks and talks and talks, I see this woman who has such a magnificent fortress built around her that she cannot even see herself. I don't know. It's hard to say that she's hardened because the weirdest thing is that if you were to meet her, you would think that she was the happiest person you've ever met. And I had to actually learn to perceive that in the way that it truly is. And it's very possible that you may have a point there. I think a lot of things hardened her life, though. Not just teaching. Teaching and the politics involved in teaching, which is why I didn't become a real teacher. And my dad and her relationship and her relationship with her parents. I think a lot of it had to do with it. And so now I can see that. I see clearly that I think she's very afraid. I think she has learned how to cope with life with this like coding of like giggles and smiles and silliness. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Many times, many psychologists say that pretty much like all of our mental issues stem from sometime in childhood, and that a lot of, so my parents were also hoarders, and a lot of hoarders actually are triggered to become hoarders at a certain point in their childhood, like something traumatic happens, and it causes them to hold on to things. And also, much of our blockages in our mentality come from a part of our childhood, and a lot of times the way that we act, you can kind of tell, like, when it happened. So I think that mine was pretty obvious because I became like very like overly like sexual, and I think that was like very clear that it happened during like my puberty stages when all like the hormones were raging and stuff. And so I think that was my brain's way of like dealing with those situations. And so, yeah, the seeking attention, exactly. And so the more and more that I dive deep into it, I find that's where it came from. And even like in my therapy sessions, like we talk a lot about like bullying and like middle school was rough for me. Let's just put it that way. And something else you asked, hoarding. Yeah, pretty much everything. Hers, though, was primarily school stuff, so kids stuff. And I never used to get it, but growing up, I've like always analyzed the crap out of everybody. So like I always analyzed my mom, and I always noticed that she acted like a child. Like she literally preferred to do children-like things. And I never got it. It was like so weird to me. I was like, why are you so mature, Mom? It's so embarrassing. but she liked, you know, like Cat in the Hat. Hey, Mariana. Mariana, I know you have this book, so, oh, hold on, there's the phone. We read Sutras, I'm trying to get back to the page, 2.17 or something. We're just discussing 2. What page am I on? Grabbing it now. We read 221, which is on page 172, and it says, all that can be perceived has but one purpose, to be perceived. And so I'm just kind of explaining how I've used this with my mother. Okay, yeah, so my mom was like super obsessed with all things children. You know, like at those like festivals and stuff where there's like dance and music and stuff. I literally hated dancing as a kid and into my adulthood because my mom would be the crazy like lunatic out there grabbing people, trying to like dance with them and dance with a bunch of children. And I was like, why do you do this? And that's okay. I'm not saying like it's not good to be lighthearted, but it's to the point where it was like excessive, like it was caused by something more than just fun, if you know what I mean. And so now as I watch her, as she talks and talks and talks and talks and talks, I am able to perceive her, and I see the sadness in her. I see the things, like I can tell that there's like a really big shield around her, and that it's not something I can really like throw a thunderbolt at to break open, but by simply just listening to her, it's kind of helping soothe her. And so now I just sit there and I listen, and I don't really react. I don't really give as much feedback as I used to because I realize that she's not ready for it. She's just not to that point. And by me realizing that she's just there to be perceived, and that's about it, it really helped me kind of get over that hostility feeling of like, why are you talking and not listening? And so it's been a lot better. And so maybe you can apply this to your own life and perceive the people in your life. And it's not just people. This is just happens to be where I'm at in my journey. Like, things don't affect me as much anymore. I'm pretty like free flowing with things and perception, but people were harder for me to understand and get past. And so yeah, my best friend too, like, there's a lot I have to perceive of him. It's a very heavy perception, and in the past, I wouldn't just know that he's there to be there to perceive. Instead, I would take everything to heart, and it was so intense, and I wouldn't understand why things were happening. But now I just learn. I learn from the things that he talks about. He's on his own little journey, so I know that you probably kind of get that from what I talk about. But it's helped a lot. I now don't take things personally, and now I can watch and see how I can learn from them. And the more that you can do that, you're just, I don't know, you may start to feel like a little bit of a crazy person, because you're going to be like playing a little game with yourself all the time, everywhere you go. I do it for random people too, like strangers. Sometimes I do it in scope. Sometimes I like watch a scope and I perceive them and I'm like, oh, they're really feeling like this way, or they are doing this really. I imagine there's other reasons that they're doing this, and yeah, so was I. So this is at least a little bit more fun. I hope that makes sense, like what I was saying, because I don't know if you're there. It's okay. Yeah. What movie did you get, by the way? I'm glad it made sense, Joe. Perceiving our emotions or the emotions, sensation that come. it was too fast. I couldn't hardly understand what you said, Mariana. If you want to type it again, I will read it. What movie did you get, Jules? Did you get Magic Mike Triple X L? You want me to read another one? Okay, I will. Hold on one second. What did you rent? I want to know. I like movies. You guys, if you're not on my Snapchat, you can add me. It's box_edge like everywhere else. And I couldn't figure out where... Ooh, let us know how it is. I would like to know if you can perceive Jurassic Park as part of your... Sorry, Jurassic World as part of your learning experience in life. And give me the lowdown on that, Jules, because I believe there's probably an underlying message to that movie, not just raptors, you know? Oh, I couldn't watch my... Sorry. You're probably doing a question mark about... Yes, that's my Snapchat name. I couldn't watch my Avatar, and I'm so upset because I keep wanting to watch Avatar, and, like, I guess I never watched it on this DVD player that I have, and I guess I only watched it with my, like, an ex-boyfriend on his PlayStation, because it's one of the 3D ones, and I have a 3D TV and the 3D glasses, and I was, like, so ready to, like, watch it in 3D. No, but I couldn't because my DVD player is in 3D. But I wanted to watch Avatar because it's got so much yoga in it, you guys. I hope you realize. I hope you really feel like that story. And I can't. It says that my DVD player is like out of date or something and won't let me watch it. And my MacBook also won't let me watch it. So I'm really upset about that, and I don't know, No, not a calm DVD. Well, I would be really calm DVD watcher if it would let me watch it, but I would like to perceive some Avatar, please, and it won't let me. It just does this weird warning screen and not let me watch it. So I'm a not calm, not watcher of DVDs. Really, when I watch movies, I'm actually, like, in the zone, like, to the point where my best friend does not like watching movies with me because he likes to talk during them, and I'm like, this is me watching a movie. I don't know what that looked like because I was looking up, but I am, like, glued and absorbed, and if you, like, talk to me, I'm like, what? Stop talking. And I hit pause, and I'm like, what do you want to say? What are you talking about? And then I guess some people like to talk over movies. I am not that person, so I'm a very calm movie watcher. And I feel like it's like a form of meditation for me, actually. And that's why I like to watch movies that have a lot of purpose. You want to know a funny one that I like to watch that's good meditation? And my edgies will probably kind of get it. Failure to Launch. Snore during movies. That's hilarious. Yeah, that would annoy the crap out of me. Failure to Launch is one that I like to meditate to, and you might not have even ever heard of it. And Fool's Gold. Maybe I'll watch Fool's Gold today. Okay. Yeah, Failure to Launch. It's good. So, what was I going to say? If you want to add me on Snapchat, though, it's about failure to launch. Literally, that is a psychology term for people who do not, like, launch their lives and, like, okay, I'm not trying to sound like a hypocrite. They don't leave their parents' house and like that kind of idea, if you know what I mean. Just so you know, just to set the record, I left my mom's house at the age of 18, and I did not come back until I was 27. And right now, I do not even see it as failure to launch because I am paying my way to live here. It's just they don't offer little tiny sheds in the market. The point of Jurassic World, don't genetically modify things. Oh my gosh, you're probably so right, Jules. I didn't even think about that. Oh, wow. I might have to rent it now. I think I have a Redbox code. I think I might rent it. I didn't really even feel like renting it, but I think I might now. It's probably so true. But on Snapchat, I decided that will be where I'll like share my movie choices, because that way they're like kind of short and I don't really feel like really talking in depth about every movie I watch. But I did want to like share with you a lot of the things I watch that are like really interesting. I don't like watching BS TV and movies, so like anything I watch has like a purpose. Now they may have like a chick flick purpose. However, I would only share the ones that are something that I learned from. So if you, and I am on Instagram. My Instagram is where my physical yoga practice typically resides. And here we talk a lot. Okay, Jules, here's the last one. The last sutra, so 2.22, page 172. Does this mean that without a perceiver, the objects of perception do not exist? Oh boy, sorry to like mind F you. This one's an intense one. The existence of all objects of perception and their appearance is independent of the needs of the individual perceiver. They exist without individual reference to cater for the different needs of different individuals. This just got real. The needs of an individual may only be defined at a particular time. Some needs may be periodic or spasmodic. I don't know that word, but it makes sense. And the needs of one individual cannot be considered more important in terms of quality and justification than those of another. A car may not be required by the owner, but by the owner's spouse. The food may not be needed now, but in a few hours may be essential. Does the food on the table vanish if the guest does not arrive? So that's cool. And that links to exactly what I was talking about too, where oh my gosh, I totally said like how, you know, my boyfriend is in my life right now because I am perceiving him and it's helping me learn, and that I know that eventually he may vanish. Like the food on the table. But yeah, that's a really, really deep one. Like, and I've heard that truth is relative. Yeah, exactly. It's very relative. There's really, like, no such thing as good. There's no such thing as bad. There's no such thing as real. This is very deep into, like, philosophy. Like, if you study philosophy, exactly. You just be. Because it's gonna be different for everybody. And we could get, like, real crazy with it and, like, go into, like, a lot of the things going on in the world, for example, and just think, like, things that you perceive are totally different from someone else perceives. I'm going to read you the short blurb, Joe, so that you understand what we're talking about. It says, the existence of all objects of perception and their appearance is independent of the needs of the individual perceiver. They exist without individual reference to cater for the different needs of different individuals. And the really big question was like, does this mean that without a perceiver, the objects of perception do not exist? So yeah, like perception is totally subjective. It is different for every single human being, every single being. I think that plants perceive us differently than maybe we perceive plants. Did you ever think of it that way? And many countries are totally like stumbling over this idea. What? We just perceive, and we're not there to make others perceive. So our perception will never be others' perception. Just because I perceive my mom talking in the car at an unruling rate doesn't mean that you would perceive it the same way. Did you say plants? Yes, I did. Did you ever think of how the actual earth perceives you? Did you ever think about things perceiving people? Because I do. I think of it. It's a good practice to see from another species' perspective. I do all the time. My Canadian friend, she became vegan because plants cannot see or hear. Plants can feel, though. I don't know if you know this, but they have receptors, like they feel the air and stuff. So that's a perception. All life is perception. Exactly. Everything can perceive. So perceive doesn't mean think. Perceive is just like that filter and that sponge we were talking about earlier. And think of it like this way, even like just physical objects take on like the vibrations of other things. I often think about our planet being a sentient. Plants probably want to get up and run. I don't know. I don't know how they perceive. I would imagine that too. I told my parents when I was young that I wondered if clouds could think. I wonder that too. And that's because your parents are not ready for that concept yet. They are very connected. Yeah. And so what I was saying is my Canadian friend, she became vegan. By the way, I'm not vegan or even vegetarian, so this is just a really good example because I found it very interesting. She became vegan after her husband went for a walk in the woods, and he said that as he was walking along through the woods, that there were pastures alongside the woods. And at one point in the walk, he came across a herd of cattle. And the herd of cattle were looking at him, watching him walk along the woods. As he came closer and closer to the herd of cattle, he noticed that they started speaking to each other. They started speaking to each other and were watching him. They would slowly start to move away from him and watch him as he passed by. When he came to the herd of cattle, to the point where he had to walk close by them, he saw them perceiving him. And he saw what is the matriarch cattle lady? I don't know what that's called. There's a name, I'm sure. But when the mane, they were doing, if he would make a, that's funny. Boss cow. So the boss cow mooed to my best friend's family has cows. The boss cow mooed to the other cows, and he perceived and realized that he told them that he was okay, that they had no reason to be afraid, and they just were okay. They didn't run away from him by him being there. And then he continued on his walk. And after he went on that walk and came back, he became a vegan like almost immediately. He said that he stopped eating all meats except for like I don't even remember. There was like only one kind of meat that he ate for a while to kind of cleanse his diet of it. And then from that point on, he never ate meats because he said that he could not handle eating something that had feelings and that could perceive him. And I'm totally not trying to like turn you into a vegan right now, but it's something to think about as far as when we do stuff, you know? And so I don't perceive it as such an extreme like he does. Don't tell, I know, Jules, I know. Thanks, because I like steak. Compassion, yes. Exactly. And so that is why I'm not a vegetarian. I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian because if I took into consideration everything having feelings and me only eating things that didn't have feelings, I would die because I would become the best anorexic on earth. Does that make sense? Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that they did teach me. Now they know a lot. They really understand a lot about the human body, about how our intestines work and stuff, and how like our teeth are made for more plant-based diets. So I totally get that we are made for more plants than maybe our steaks. But I also understand that we are animals and that it's the circle of life. So I haven't brought up the subject. There was a woman in the news who only aired because we are talking about right now. It can really screw up in your mind if you don't. I don't know. I don't know. Like if I don't want to say think of it the right way. Exactly. Yeah. I understand those vegetarians. That has like a lot of, yeah. But right now my friends are vegan only because of the emotional capacity of animals. And so that's why I have not yet given them my side of the story about how plants feel, because I don't want them to come crashing down into some like avalanche of emotions, and I think like it may hit them really hard. I don't think that they've thought of it. They're on their way, and if I visit in the summer, I may like talk with them about it. Exactly, I don't want to starve them. So that's why and you know what, kind of what we were talking on earlier. Some things are common sense. We were talking about earlier about, you know, a flower likes the dew on its petals, not the like rapid rainstorm. And my way of delivering that message to them when I was with them was that I went on like that road trip. You might not even know. I helped them move back to Canada last summer, and I was pretty much like their maid so that I could visit Canada. And by me talking to them about the ways that I fish, for example, so when I go fishing, I don't fish for like fun. It's fun, but when I fish for nourishment. I fish for food. I don't fish for like just to take a picture and say, I did it. Yes, I do. I am still learning, and I still need the companionship of my best friend to do it because I'm still so new. But I don't know. Sometimes he says that I probably get a lot more than other fishermen, but I don't know. Anyways, But the purpose of me fishing is to feed myself and not to just like snag a bunch of fish. And so I would tell them that, and they were really interested. Exactly. I've got my pink tackle box my best friend gave me. And I would explain to them about how that was the situation, and I noticed that I could see the gears start to turn in their perception. They were listening, and I felt not judged by them. Like, they understood it. Like, they were like, I can understand how you see that. And so it may make them understand the plant thing later on. So that was me giving them small dewdrops of little, like, bits of information, and not just murder their minds by telling them plants have feelings. Are you gonna eat them? Because that would just be too intense. And I also told them about how I live, like, there's like 1 million ranches out where I live, and there's like cows like all around me. And if you even go on my Instagram, you'll see that I like to practice with the cows. Like, I practice out in the pasture sometimes, and I have like this connection with them, and I feel that I wish I knew how to slaughter things, because I think it would actually make it a better experience of perception for me. That's hard to say, because, like, I don't like blood. Ooh. But, like Mariana was saying, with the way that things are being killed these days, that's why a lot of people become vegetarians, rather than, like, the fact that they're animals. And so I also told them about how my best friend's family, like, raises the cattle, and how really, like, cattle ranchers, like, it's like a family a lot of times. Like, I've gone one time I went on a trip to, like, pick up a bull, because I guess, like, they don't have a bull right now. I don't know why. And we went and got a bull, and he's now, like, living the high life with all the bitches on the ranch. So he's got all the ladies he could ever desire on this ranch now. And how, you know, it's like they brought him there to be, like, that's what he does. He's a bull. He pretty much just has sex with a bunch of other lady cows, and then they have babies. Like, from what I've told, they could have, like, up to 28 babies. Ah, that's so many. That's his job, exactly. Career, check. Down. So we got the bull, and he looked like Ferdinand. I called him Ferdinand for a while, because when we got him, okay, my best friend's dad is, like, really judgmental. He is very closed-minded, and it was, I found this really funny, so I'm just going to tell you the story, but, I told him about how I called him Ferdinand, because I noticed that the bull, like, he would just, like, sit all day in, like, the field amongst, like, the flowers, and he wasn't even, like, interested in the girls, like, at all. And I thought it was really hilarious, because they literally brought him there for, you know, a specific purpose. And his dad is like, I think that bull might be queer, because he's just been sitting there for, like, the past 2 days. And I laughed my butt off when I heard him say that. It was just really funny to me, because, like, I was not expecting it at all, and I had never heard his dad talk like that. And I'm getting off on a tangent, but anyways, they raise the bull, and they take care of the bull, and they feed the bull, and they feed the cows, and the cows have all this land, and honestly, they've got, like, a lot of land. They seem pretty cool. Yes, I think that was it, Jules, because now he's, like, he's cool now. He's walking around. He needed some alone time. Exactly. He wanted to, like, he was trying to play hard to get. And I didn't know how often they come in heat, but there's, like, so many of them there that I almost guarantee like one of them would have been. And so the cows are taken care of, and they take care of them, and then they have babies, and then you take care of the babies, and they love these babies. Like, you know, there's coyotes. He was stressed by the move. Exactly. Not this time of month. Not his time of month. Sometimes the coyotes, or sometimes those pesky dogs, they do eventually sell the babies. He was doing yoga in the field. Exactly. He was doing some child pose in the field. The coyotes, or sometimes the dogs, get a hold of the cows. And so I remember at one point a cow got killed, and I think it had a calf. And so when the mom cow dies, I've learned so much about cows in like a very short amount of time. I really didn't even start listening until like this year. But what I learned is that if the mom cow dies, then every once in a while another cow will let it feed from her, but it's very rare because they pretty much only let their own babies feed off of it. And so, yeah, so you pretty much have to bottle feed it. And the reason you have to bottle feed it is, I guess, the little baby calf will like keep living, and it'll just eat a bunch of grass, and then it'll become really fuzzy, which is like, I've seen some of them now. I've noticed the ones that eat more grass because they're like really fluffy. They're like fluffy cows. And then they die because of malnourishment. So you have to bottle feed it. And so big ass bottles are like really common in their household. And so they bottle feed the calves to raise them. And a lot of times they don't live. Like it's more common that they don't live, from what I've understood. I've not actually watched it because I don't anymore. I don't drink cow's milk anymore. I do still eat yogurt. So I would say that's the main dairy that I still have in my diet. But it's not like a permanent one. And I haven't had cheese in a while, though, actually. Yeah. They need to follow Erica. Erica429. Oh. Yeah, I'll have to tell them about her, actually. And so, yeah, so the point of, like, this really long tangent about calves and fishing and explaining to my vegan friends about how we eat them is that pretty much, like, it's very nurturing to each other, and the way that they perceive them is very loving, and, like, is the word symbiotic make sense? I feel like I want to say that, but I don't even know if that makes sense. And so, yes, they do eventually sell the calves, and a lot of times the calves just go to other homes that then raise them to be cows and breed more. So, because I took some calves to the market with my best friend a couple times, and yeah, at first I had a hard time with that because they were like screaming, and like it was rough for me to take in. And I noticed that the moms do get very sad, and they do call out for their babies for like a couple days after that. And so I don't know how I feel about it still. But they did explain to me how most of the baby ones are just bought and raised on other ranches, and they don't sell them though until they don't need the cow's milk. So kind of like, imagine like you go off to college, or you go off into your own like living, you probably get homesick. And you probably cry a little because you, like, moved out on your own. And, like, your parents are like, oh, my God, my baby is gone. But, like, it was time, you know? Exactly. So they're weaned. So that's what made me feel a little bit better about it. It's not like they were like just stealing these little infants away. It was like they were adults ready to be like in the real world. Here, cow, you're real world now. So it made a lot more sense to me. Okay, hopefully you learned some stuff about cows tonight, and hopefully I didn't totally, like, butcher the teaching of that. And thank you for those of you who are in here that do know about cows, keeping me honest. But all of that is about this idea of, do objects stop existing if perception does not exist? And the thing is, no, it doesn't stop existing. Like, everything just is. Everything is interconnected, and it bees. And, I mean, this is kind of, like, morbid, but if you die, you die. It just happens. Like, the world is not going to end because you die, for example, you know? It just keeps going. The world keeps spinning. The stars keep bursting. The cows keep having babies. So, the more that you think about that, then it kind of frees you, and you're just like, oh, okay, it's just gonna happen anyways, so I guess I can just live my life and see what I can learn and accept and just be. And that's how I've really started living my life, and it's really been quite freaking awesome, to be completely honest with you. So, I hope that you liked that last one. Sorry, Jules, that was like a can of worms one as that last one. I didn't mean to make it so long, but you told me to read another one, and then that happened. No, I accept kind words. One thing that I have explained on other scopes is that I totally don't care when people tell me you're beautiful or like you have pretty eyes and all that kind of stuff, only because it doesn't, it's just your perception. Hey, look at that. We can turn it into a lesson. And even my perception, it doesn't matter as much to me. I see it as a health thing. Like, if I look really shitty and I'm looking like I'm not taking care of my body, then that's whenever it matters to me. But I don't care as much as far as, like, attractiveness, per se. So, thank you. Alright, that probably concludes the Yoga Sutras for tonight, and this was a good conversation tonight. Y'all were, like, really interactive, and hopefully the Jurassic World is very educational to you, Jules. Hopefully you learn lots about the genetically modified raptors and not have nightmares, because I think I would have to watch it during the day, so I knew I wouldn't dream of like the weirdest chaos ever. I dream about a lot of life, so yeah. Okay, let's do the thing, and then I'll let you go. Thank you for being here, everyone. I think it's fictional. I think it's fictional. I might need to look that up. Namaste. Love you.